Welcome to the Revelation of Hope podcast with your host, Alvin Bonds II. Join us each week as Alvin explores the relationship between leadership and families by interviewing leaders in different fields all over the world. Alvin believes that the success of tomorrow's leaders begins with the success of today's families.
Hello, and welcome to the Revelation of Hope podcast. I am your host, Alvin Bonds II, and this is episode 16. Today, I interview Azriel Ratz. Azriel is a Facebook ads expert and also the CEO of Ratz Media. Before we get to that interview, I want to talk just a moment about persistence. One of the things that Azriel mentioned in his interview is the importance of never giving up. No matter what is thrown at you, no matter what is said, no matter what is done, keep moving. What in your life should you persist about? A job, starting a business, family, creating a website, creating whatever is in your life that's before you, whether it's internal doubt you have within yourself, whether it's friends or family not supporting, whether it's you not being recognized or even appreciated at your job, whatever the situation may be, look at your vision. Look at what is it that you are working towards. What is the end goal that you want to accomplish? And don't stop working towards that. That's one of the things that Azriel encourages in his interview is to keep pushing, keep doing, keep trying. Never give up. So I'm very thankful to do this interview with Azriel. He is a Facebook ads expert and the CEO of Ratz Media, whose headquarters is in Israel, which is about 7 or 8 hours ahead, depending on your location in the United States. Through his years of experience in online marketing, Azriel has perfected his strategy for companies to find their ideal audiences and create the most relevant ads for their businesses. Azriel's Facebook ad process is FEO, Find, Engage, Optimize. Begin by finding the right audience, then engaging that audience with the best possible ads, then optimizing the ads to get the best possible results. Azriel is very passionate about his work, and it has proven successful for him. I'm thankful to be able to interview him for this podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Well, tell us about you.
Absolutely. So I got into online marketing about 6 years ago. My, at the time, just friend, he wanted to start a nonprofit, and he had no idea what he was doing. He had like 1,000 emails on an email list and maybe 300 likes on a Facebook page, and just kind of said, "You're in charge here. You figure it out." And after 3.5 years working for him, we ended up spending in the hundreds of thousands of dollars in online ads. We grew a website to over 1 million page views a month, an e-commerce store to $30,000 a month, client work to $40,000 a month.
Yeah.
And after the time there, I left about 2.5 years ago and started my own company running ads and doing what worked for his business for a bunch of clients, which is Facebook ads and email marketing, where they are in charge of the email marketing and I'm in charge of the management of the Facebook ads.
Okay. So how did you get involved with all of this? How did you get started in social media marketing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically, my boss's thought process was, you figure out how to do something, you give it to someone else to do, and then you figure out how to do bigger and more important things. So for him, that meant he was creating the actual content. He was writing, every day, some, blog post, and then it was just about getting it to get out to social media, posted on Facebook, Instagram. We had an iPhone app at the time, on a website, whatever that might be. And I was in charge every day for 1 hour a day, just copy paste the content into all of those platforms. And, I have a background, I have a degree in math. So you kind of say, like, let's look at some data, see what kind of posts are working better. Let's try to do more of that, less of what's not working. And from there, we kind of dropped doing Pinterest because it wasn't working so well for us, focused more on email and Facebook, and then kind of like tripled down on that, figured out how to optimize email newsletters, tried to figure out how to, what kind of posts on Facebook should we do, what time of the day, how should it be written, what kind of images should we use, all of that stuff. We kind of just like learned it on as we were going. And then we started saying, these posts are doing so well. At the time, we were doing polls, just like a simple question, like, what do you think what do you think about this? Yes or no? Very basic poll. Yeah. And those polls would get crazy reach on Facebook. So we said, what if we started, pushing money behind these polls? And that kept working also. We were paying something like 25 cents an email. It's like, well, imagine if we could do this, pay as much money as possible. To us, an email was worth $1.25 from Facebook. So imagine if we could spend 25 cents to make $1.25. Yeah. And he just kept putting more and more money in. And then by the time we turned around 5-6 months later, we were at 150,000 emails on an email list. Wow. And they were making us 5 times return on every one of those emails that we collected for 25 cents. We just kept going, started doing that for clients. And then eventually I left that business and started doing it for clients that I'm working with now.
Okay. So I'm curious, have you always had this, I guess, entrepreneurial drive or passion?
So I'll tell you that when I worked for that previous employer, I honestly did not think that I was going to leave. I know. So I graduated. I have a degree in actuarial studies, financial math, basically. Okay. And I got a job that had nothing to do with math. And then it kind of developed into using the data from social media to start applying it in marketing. Mm-hmm. And I loved being there. I loved what I did. I was good at it. We were making money. I all my friends were there, but I ended up running into conflicts with my boss, so I couldn't stay there any longer. And I came to a point where I kind of said I could either start my own business or find somewhere else to work because I couldn't be there any longer. So I kind of said to myself, so I live in Israel, and here no one does what I do, and no one appreciates what I do. And, it was true even in America. 3 years ago, Facebook ads is not what it is today. Facebook ads is like the most important thing today. And 3 years ago when I was doing it, when that was my entire job, people didn't appreciate, like, how do you do that for a living? What does that mean? There's all this other stuff you have to do. What about Google ads? What about email marketing? What about SEO? Well, today, guess what? It's the most important thing. If you're not doing it, you're losing. Yeah. So I just believe that from the beginning. We saw those results because I spent a lot of money everywhere else. And I kind of said, this is what I'm going to do. So I was looking at job opportunities, and those people were paying me less than at my last job. Huh. So I said, like, I don't understand. I could literally find 2 businesses that believe in what I believe, and I'll make more money working for myself than I would working full time at someone else's business doing the same exact thing. So I said, let's give it, a year and just see what happens. So I gave it a year, and now I'm almost 2.5 years in.
That's amazing.
And here I am.
So tell us about your business. What do you offer? What do you provide?
Yeah. So right now, the management of the ads, which means I have this very strategic and mathematical way of looking at Facebook ads. To me, there's 3 key points in a Facebook ad. One is what's the reason why you're running this ad? Do you want leads? Do you want registration on your webinar? Do you want people to actually buy your product? Or do you just want video views, impressions, engagement? Is that what you want? So that's the first really important thing to nail down before you start spending any money. Just what do I want out of this whole what do I want out of this whole thing? Yeah. The second thing is, who do I want to target? What is the best way for me to get in front of not just people, but the best potential audiences? And to do that, you don't just create one giant ad set with everyone that you might want to target, but rather you create a bunch of little ad sets so you could actually learn who are the best people. Oh, your email subscribers? Oh, or your Facebook likes? Or maybe it's some, geographical location. Everyone in this 5-mile radius that's between the age of 18 and 33 that likes biking. That might be the interest. That might be the targeting. And we could test that and actually learn who's the best. And then the third thing is the actual content. Is it an image? Is it a video? What kind of text do we need? What does the landing page need to look like? Based on what they have, I give them feedback. We should tweak this, try this, maybe make like a slideshow on Facebook, which is just 5 images and have it run as a video, kind of like a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
And have that be the ad, or should we try to make some nice looking video? Should we pay for a GIF to be made, whatever that might be? And I create and manage that entire thing, everything that goes on, the targeting, the goals, and the actual content. That is the main thing that I do. And then on top of that, I have consulting hours where people can say, I already have these ads running. I'm just trying to figure out, what can I tweak here? What can I make better? And we'll sit down for 1 hour. We'll run through all of the ads as fast as we can, try to figure out how to build the ad campaigns in the right way so that they can manage it themselves and get the most out of what they're doing. That's the 2 main things I offer right now.
Yeah. And I watched one of the videos you posted recently, and you talked about Facebook targeting that's changed. And you even mentioned being able to target positions. I guess, help us understand what makes that so important, such a valuable component of the Facebook targeting.
So you happen to mention one thing that right now Facebook actually removed that ability to target. They ran into some issues that we definitely don't have time to get into now, but they removed the ability to target based on job title and where you're working.
Yeah.
But I assume because the reason why they did it, that they'll be putting it back into the ad targeting abilities soon. I don't know what soon means. It could mean the end of the year. It could mean in the next few weeks.
Sure.
Of all times, the worst time they could possibly do this is Q4 of any year, when the most money is spent per year. So I would say hopefully in the next few weeks you'll be able to do that. But what's really important to understand is that there are so many ways to target the same people on Facebook, right? So if we just talk about entrepreneurs as a general group of people, right? So you're trying to reach entrepreneurs. Well, how do you want to do it? Do you want to target people based on the people they care about, the influencers, the Gary V's and the Seth Godins and the Tim Ferrisses and the whatever? I can list Tony Robbins. I can list all those people.
Yeah.
Or do you want to target them based on books that they read? I can give you a whole list of hundreds of really great entrepreneur books. Sell or Be Sold, Freakonomics, the 48 Laws of Marketing, whatever. All those books I could list, 100 books. Or do I want to talk about, magazines they read? Do they read Founder Magazine? Do they read Fortune Magazine? Do they read Business Insider? Do they read TechCrunch? Do they read Mashable? And that's a whole other way of targeting those people. And you can keep going. You can keep on making new interests. Tools that they might use, HubSpot or MailChimp or Constant Contact or Facebook ads, and you can give a whole list of tools that entrepreneurs tend to use a lot.
Yes.
Right? And now we're talking about the same group of people, the same group of entrepreneurs that live in America, that whatever, and there's 10 different ways to target that same audience. Mm-hmm. So the question is, what's the best way?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is the cheapest one. But how do you know which way that is unless you run every version of the ad? Do you want to target them based on magazines or platforms or authors or books or influencers, and it just keeps on going? And this is true for every niche. The more you know. For example, I'm running ads right now for a company that sells to gamers. Yeah. Right? Gaming is a huge group of people, in the hundreds of millions of people. And there's games they play. There's influential gamers. Mm-hmm. There's software or like special keyboards and companies that build products for gamers. That's a totally different way of targeting that same audience. So what you really need to do is figure out what's the best way for me to target my audience. Yes. And then based on what you learn, then spend as much money as you can targeting your audience the right way so you get in front of them for the lowest possible price with the best possible results.
Wow. That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
You've started your business and you've been successful and you've become a social media influencer. What's your philosophy of leadership?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I personally don't have any employees, so to give this answer is a little hard because I don't have a day-to-day leadership role. Okay. But I will tell you that at the end of the day, what I noticed in my last job is that the leader needs to take responsibility for anything that goes wrong in the business. Okay. If something isn't right, it usually means that there were bad instructions to the employees in the business. Because if you know you have a hardworking person and they know in a normal situation what to do and they do something wrong, the likelihood is it was either not communicated right to them, or they thought they knew what they were doing and they didn't, and it was not clear, or was something usually is wrong in the communication between the leader and the person who's actually doing the work.
Okay.
And you can't turn around and say, it's my fault, it's your fault because you didn't do it right, if in the end the reason why you did it wrong was because I told you how to do it the wrong way.
Right. And while you may not have any employees right now, but do you consider yourself a thought leader in the field?
Well, I definitely hope so. I've been doing this longer than almost anyone that I know. In the time when I started 6 years ago, there was one blog to read. John Loomer still has a site today where he talks a lot about the basics of Facebook, how it works, new tools and new tricks and stuff like that that I've been following for almost 6 full years now. When I started this. And today there are a lot of people that do this. And when people come to me and say, what course did you take? When I started, there was no course to take.
Right.
So I definitely hope that, the way I do ads is very different. I've never seen anyone that structures ads the way that I do, that does testing the way that I do. So I definitely hope that the things that I'm doing that I see work, other people are applying and doing. And if that's not the definition of a thought leader, I don't know what it is. So I hope that I fit that bill.
Definitely. And I was reading online and I noticed someone was listening to a podcast and they heard your interview and there was some excitement about that. So you're definitely out there. How do you balance your time with your work and your family?
Right. So that is definitely hard. So I'm married with a 3-year-old son that's living here. And my wife actually works as a full-time nurse. So on top of me working at 9:45 at night, my wife is actually working and in school studying. She has a big final tomorrow. Wow. So that she's actually out right now studying, hitting the books because I think it's like 8 a.m. tomorrow. She has the final for the whole year of school. So something like that. So I work from home and I have a 3-year-old son that finishes every day at 3:45. From 3:45 p.m. until 8:30 around when he gets to sleep, I don't work.
Yeah.
Like I'll answer emails or a quick text message or something like that, but I'm with him.
Yes.
During that period. So I think it's very important to have, obviously the best of both worlds would be to not have to work at 9:45 at night, but when you're 7 hours ahead of Eastern time zone, of America, it's much harder to pick your hours. But I try to make it work. I try to make sure that I get to eat dinner with my family and take my son to the park and also put in the hours I need to build this business.
Yes. That's powerful. And I appreciate and respect that so much that you have insulated your family time and made sure that's top priority. That's huge. And there's a lot of people who don't do that. What made that so important to you to do that for your family?
Well, I feel like when I started, I wasn't making any money, and my wife was the person making the money. And she was going out there. She works, so she works in a clinic. She works every day. I would say now it's 3 days because she's getting a day of school in there, but three days a week, 8 a.m. to 1 and 4 p.m. to 7. So she's working 8-hour days, and I have to make sure that someone has to watch the kid, and she's not physically at the house. So it just has to be that I'm spending time with him. I'm there, and he's getting everything that, all the attention that he needs while he's awake, so that when it's time to go to sleep, he knows it's time to go to sleep.
Yes.
When it's time to wake up and get to daycare in the morning, then he knows it's time to get to daycare in the morning. So that's just, it's a very important part of the day, just the structure that he has, so that when things need to happen, he knows, now is the time to do this, then it's the time to do that. And it's just good to have someone there to make sure that it's happening.
Yeah. And I'm a marriage and family therapist, and so I have the honor to work with different families where what you've set for your family is not present. And I see different, broken homes, blended families, all of the different dynamics. But what I love is that you're being consistent, and giving time for your family and also your business. And for me personally, I believe that the success of tomorrow's leaders begins with the success of today's families. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you that when I grew up, my father works very late nights. We're talking about he get home 10 p.m., if not later, leave very early in the morning, 9 a.m. And we still, whenever possible, I would say 5 out of 6 days of the week, we'd be eating dinner together, the whole family. Yeah. Even if that meant we were 7 years old and waiting till 10 o'clock till my father got home to eat dinner.
Okay.
Just because how important it was that the family ate dinner together. We were together at the table eating, and we actually had a conversation before cell phones. People actually talk to each other. And so, I grew up like that. So to me, it's like, of course we have to be eating together. Of course, we have to spend time together. Just, it's almost like it would be weird not to type of thing.
Yeah. And interesting enough, there are families that may not be a priority, but I love that it was a priority for you as a child, and you've made it a priority for you and your family. And, being, 8 hours ahead, it causes you to really to be flexible and challenging. And I love that you've still made it work. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about your life, leadership, anything?
At the end of the day, when you decide to do something, it could drastically change your life. And, when I started 2.5 years ago, I never thought that I'd be doing as well as I am now. I never thought that I'd be making as much as I am now. And just the decision to just keep doing it for as long as I did it, even when, clients don't pay you, or everyone says no, or no one wants to have you on your podcast because who the heck are you? Who do you think you are to, whatever, that type of thing. And you just keep doing it over and over again. And that this is going to end up working. You just have to keep putting the time in. It will end up working. You just have to keep putting the time in. That's it. So you just have, keep pushing and keep doing and keep trying, because at the end, you only live once. So if you don't do it now, then when else can you do it?
Yes, I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, as well as providing a rating and review. Every week, I will interview a different leader and invite them to share with us their views and perspective on the relationship between leadership and family. Be sure to visit my website. It's www.alvinbonds2nd.com. That's ALVINBONDSII.com. Have a great day.